Hi, friends. Welcome to the Hey Fundraiser podcast. I'm your host, Mary Peterson, and whether you're a frontline fundraiser, an executive director, a board member, or someone just wanting to make an impact in your community, this podcast is for you. We cover all facets of fundraising, and our main objective is to give you ideas and inspiration to help you raise more money. Join us as we grow, learn, and make an impact together. Hey, fundraiser. So I want to bring to you a subject that's a little more squishy than what I normally talk to you about. So I typically try really hard to give you very actionable things that you can implement into your work like that day. So like how to prospect, how to have a donor meeting, questions you need to ask during cultivation, or, how to close a major gift. I mean, these things, but something has happened over the last 6 months. So about 6 months ago, I launched a course. It's a $47 course, and you could buy it online. And about 500 people bought that course. With that course, I had been offering a 15-minute onboarding call. And it was just a quick touch base, make sure that people could access the course. And, I kind of wanted to know what people's biggest fundraising challenges were and things like that. But what rose to the surface so quickly, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these calls, I kept hearing the same thing over and over and over. And it really had to do with mindset issues. A lot of fundraisers out there who are working on major gifts, who are tasked with building deep relationships with prospects and donors, they feel like they need to be perfect. Some feel like they have imposter syndrome, like they walk out of a meeting and think, I hope they realize that I have no idea what I'm doing. Like somebody actually said that to me. And then the other thing is that they feel like they need to be another person, that they have, like, for example, they have like work Mary, who is polished and professional and, doesn't joke around, but is just very to the point and very efficient. And then there's fun Mary that's like outside of work. And, she's laughing, she's being her authentic self. But there's two different people. Like you walk into those doors of work and you put the mask on. And so I started to hear these mindset issues over and over and over again. And these 15-minute calls turned into quite a few therapy sessions, which is good. I'm glad that it happened, because I didn't realize that people were feeling like this. And I think back to when I was a younger fundraiser, and I do remember feeling like this. I remember thinking, what if I don't know what I'm doing? Or what if there's a typo in this proposal? Or what if I say the wrong thing and they end the relationship with me and the organization? Like all these things that, by the way, have never happened. And they're probably never going to happen for you too. But so this episode, it's a little bit more, it's about mindset. And I want to talk through it because I can give you practical advice all day long. But if we don't have the right mindset, that practical advice isn't going to be as strong as it could be. So let's just dig into it. And by the way, this is judgment-free space. So I'm going to share some stories. I'm going to hear something or tell you some things that I've heard. And I hope that you'll spend some time thinking about where you have mindset blocks. Okay, so here are some of the things I've heard. I've heard that I just stare at my screen with a half-written proposal on it, and I feel like I need a PhD in perfection to send this proposal along. Or I've heard that one gentleman said to me, I feel like I need to be slick and professional to earn their respect. But then after I left the meeting, he felt like he had just delivered a TED Talk and didn't have any kind of iota of a real conversation. So if you're nodding along, you are so not alone in this. And this episode is especially for you. So today we're going to dive into 3 sneaky little mindsets that are holding you back in your major gift work. And spoiler alert, they're more common than you think. I've been there, I've lived it, and I've coached hundreds of fundraisers through it. So If you're in the car, if you're on a walk, if you're hiding from your inbox, which no judgment, I do the same. We're going to bust through the myths of perfection and people pleasing and proposal paralysis. And I want to give you some simple, powerful shifts that are going to help you build trust, close bigger gifts, and actually enjoy the work again. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first mindset is I have to be perfect to be taken seriously. This is wrong. I highly encourage you to just be your authentic self. If you're funny, be funny. If you are a serious person, then be serious. Just be you. And that is what is going to connect you with your donor. So you probably remember your first donor meeting. And I did too. I almost I over prepared like a binder, rehearsed it like I was opening a night on Broadway. And I still felt like I wasn't prepared or I wasn't going to be taken seriously. So just know I've been there and I get it. But here's the thing. Perfection is paralyzing. Donors, they don't expect a flawless pitch. They want real stories, real people, and real emotion. And so if you are only being half of your authentic self and you're just trying to be perfect, then it's going to be really hard for you to connect with these prospects and donors. So that's one thing. I mean, the other thing is that I feel like a lot of fundraisers, they hide behind credentials or scripts. And believe me, I love a good script and I have tons of scripts that I give to my coaching clients. But at the end of the day, authenticity, you being you, is going to win trust faster. And frankly, donors aren't necessarily inspired by polish, they're moved by passion. So you have to remember your quirks, your awesome little quirks that probably drive you crazy. These are actually your fundraising superpower. Your quirks are your fundraising superpower. So lean into what makes you you, even if it's a little awkward or off script. I will tell you, I try to be kind of polished on this podcast. I am goofy. But I am my authentic self and I've closed big, big, big gifts. So just read the room. If you have a donor who is having a bad day, then maybe you don't crack as many jokes as you normally would. Or if you have a donor and they're just a really serious donor, then maybe you be a little bit more serious because you're matching the energy in the room. So I have had donors tell me in the past that they feel more connected when fundraisers don't come across like a robot with a script. They want to get to know you. You represent an organization that they might be investing a lot of money with. And so they want a deep relationship with you. You're going to close bigger gifts and you don't have to be perfect. Just be relatable. That's all you have to do is be relatable. So the way to reframe this mindset of I have to be perfect to be taken seriously, instead of saying to yourself, how can I be perfect in this meeting? I want you to ask yourself, how can I be more human in this meeting? Because human is work. It works. It just does. It really does. So be you. I highly recommend it. Plus, it's very freeing and joyful. Okay, mindset number 2 is I'll send the proposal once it's perfect. Okay, so serious question. How many proposals are just chilling in your drafts folder, waiting for like this magical moment when everything is perfect? Because newsflash, that day's not coming. So proposal perfectionism is the ultimate progress killer. There was a lot of P's in that sentence. However, so your job is not to write the next great American novel. It's really just to move the donor to the next step. So sometimes fundraisers wait for the right words, the best timing, or these golden stats that are just going to inspire people to whip out their checkbook and write this massive check. And while they're doing that, they're missing real opportunities in the meantime. Done beats perfect every single time. So proposals at the end of the day, they're really just conversation starters. It's not like a final exam or you're like delivering your, dissertation. Proposals just start the conversation. And so it doesn't have to be perfect. If you spell a word wrong, that's okay. I will tell you, and I've said this to many of my coaching clients, because they want to just sit and tweak and tweak and tweak and zhuzh until the proposal is perfect. But here's the thing. While you're tweaking, 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 and zhuzhing, someone else is going to ask that person for a gift. And I know that's really hard to hear, but it is the truth. And I've seen it happen. So, make sure that your proposals are branded and they make sense, like, right? They're complete sentences and someone can actually read it. It does not have to be perfection. It just doesn't. So recently I did a study on 1,000 major gift officers and like how they spend their time and how much money they're asking for. And I'll tell you what, super successful major gift officers, their average ask is $225,000. And I'll tell you what, they are not waiting for the perfect packet. They're out building relationships, they're being their authentic self, and they're making the ask. So get that proposal out of your computer and into the hands of your donors. So how I want you to reframe this is, if you're thinking about like, this isn't perfect, it's not ready yet, I want you to ask yourself, what if I treated proposals as drafts in a living conversation instead of masterpieces set in stone? Because I think a lot of people think that once it's out there, that's it. It's been released to the world and it can never change. That is not the case at all. I've gone back to donors and said, written a proposal, sent it to a donor, spent way too much time making it perfect. And then the donor comes back and says, I kind of like this other program a little better. I've really kind of been thinking about it. And then I've wasted all that time. So it really is a conversation starter. It doesn't have to be the next great American novel that is absolutely perfect. Okay. Mindset 3. And this is a doozy. Like, we might need psychiatrists and psychologists involved, but I'll do my best. Okay. So mindset 3, I need to be someone else to connect with donors. Okay. So I get a lot, and even in these hundreds and hundreds of onboarding calls, the phrase imposter syndrome came up so many times that I started counting it in my notebook, like, oh, there's another, there's another, there's another. So you don't need to be someone else. Like, if you're trying to be someone else, that's almost like acting. It's like you're walking into a donor meeting trying to be, air quotes, the professional fundraiser role. And then you actually end up feeling like you just went, like you bombed a weird audition or something. So here's the problem. And this is a myth. If I act like a textbook fundraiser, I'll be respected. No. We don't really have a, air quotes, textbook fundraiser. Fundraising is an art and a science. And yes, there are thousands and thousands of books written on how to fundraise, but you being you is the best secret sauce that there is. So the myth is, if I act like the textbook fundraiser, I'll be respected. The truth is, donors are investing in you as much as your mission. They don't want to invest in somebody that they don't know or can't get to know or is putting on a facade. Being real builds connection, and connection drives giving. So you want to connect with your donors. You don't want it to be like you're putting on this facade. So share personal stories, show vulnerability. These are things that create trust with your donors. And also, like, adjusting to donor dynamics, it doesn't mean becoming a chameleon. It means staying yourself while adapting your communication. So think about your donor visit. In a very authentic way. Like, you want to authentically get to know this person. You want to authentically talk to them about your amazing organization. And trust grows faster when you're present, not when you're performing. So I think one of the reasons why this kept coming up in my onboarding calls for the Major Donor Meeting Mastery course is because I have a whole module in that course called Sticky Trust Strategies. And I call them Sticky Trust Strategies. One, because it's just a fun name. And two, it took me like 25 years to figure out how to quickly build trust with donors. And these are powerful yet subtle ways to connect without feeling, salesy or like pushy. And so I think because I had that module in there, a lot of people would watch the course, they would have the call with me, and then they would be like, okay, well, I can't be my authentic self because that's not professional or something like that, which would just make me smile because you should really just be yourself. So here's an example. Like, there was a fundraiser. She thought of her sense of humor was unprofessional, right? Like she knew she was funny. She'd always been funny. She'd always been told she'd been funny, but she finally decided to let her hair down and be herself. And at the end of that meeting, the donor said that this meeting was absolutely unforgettable, that she had a blast, that she would meet with this woman anytime she wanted because she had such a great time. So it's not all about being what you think the donor wants you to be. It's about being you, and you have gifts and skills, and take those gifts and skills, wrap them in your authentic self, and just be you in those donor meetings. So here's a way to reframe. I mean, if you're really thinking, I need to be somebody else to connect with donors, I want you to ask yourself, what if your job isn't to impress donors, but to connect with them? That's a completely different mindset. So we've talked about three things today. We've talked about mindset one, I have to be perfect to be taken seriously, which I'm hoping I debunked that. Mindset two is everything has to be perfect. I'll send that proposal once it's perfect. And I hope we worked through that. And then mindset three is I need to be someone else to connect with donors. And you're actually going to push them further away if you don't connect by being your authentic self. So if you see yourself in one of these mindsets, your call to action is just to choose one. Just choose one and flip it today. Send the draft. Show up real. Embrace your quirks. I promise it's secret sauce. And just be your authentic self. Now, if you are interested in this Major Donor Meeting Mastery, I'll put a link in the show notes. But I want you to know that you have everything you need to be successful. The things that you might not need are outside of your control. You might need stats from your program people. You might need vision from your board of directors. You might need stories from, people who are the boots on the ground and delivering your programs. But just because you don't have all those things does not mean you cannot connect with donors by being your authentic self. Your authentic self is your fundraising superpower. So go out, call a donor, be the perfectly imperfect being that we all are, and go raise some big gifts. Okay, fundraiser, until next time. Hey, fundraiser, thanks so much for being here today. Did you know that we create a special page for each episode that contains helpful links, episode highlights, standout quotes, and freebies? Check it out in today's podcast description. If you loved what you heard today, would you kindly give us a rating and review? It really helps other fundraising professionals find our Hey Fundraiser community. I'm Mary Peterson, and thank you for listening.